We are not breaking ties, we are breaking chains. Burkina Faso will no longer host those who undermine our sovereignty, or land, our people, our destiny. No foreign power will dictate them again.
What if we told you that one of Africa's youngest revolutionary leaders just shut down every European embassy in his country? What if a single decision sent shockwaves through Brussels, Paris, and Washington, signaling the dawn of a new Africa where sovereignty is not begged for, but taken? That's exactly what happened in Burkina Faso. Captain Ibrahim Traoré, the bold leader of this West African nation, has officially cut all diplomatic ties with the European Union and ordered the closure of every EU embassy operating on Burkinabe soil. No more backdoor politics. No more development aid with strings attached. No more colonial puppetry masquerading as diplomacy. This is not a protest. This is a revolution. Today, on African Today, we unravel the truth behind this historic move. Why did Traoré make such a drastic decision? What does it mean for Burkina Faso, for Africa, and for the decaying influence of Europe across the continent? This isn't just a news story. It's a battle cry for every African nation dreaming of true independence. Since taking power in 2022, Captain Ibrahim Traoré has positioned himself as a voice of defiance and dignity. While critics labeled him a military usurper, millions of Burkinabe citizens saw something else: hope. Hope for security. Hope for self-reliance. Hope for an Africa no longer held hostage by its former colonizers. Traoré's government has been steadily moving toward full sovereignty. From removing French troops to embracing regional security cooperation through the Alliance of Sahel States, AES, every step has been deliberate. Now, by cutting diplomatic ties with the European Union and ejecting all EU embassies, Traoré has escalated that mission. The move is more than symbolic. It's a practical strike against decades of European interference. For years, the European Union operated embassies and missions in Burkina Faso that were deeply involved in the country's political and economic affairs. Under the guise of diplomacy and development, these institutions wielded influence over elections, policymaking, military strategy, and even natural resource contracts. Many Burkinabe began to question, who truly governs our country? Leaked documents and whistleblowers within civil society revealed how EU officials coordinated with Western NGOs to block national development projects that didn't align with European values. One former advisor to the Ministry of Planning stated, "We often received more pressure from foreign diplomats than our own parliament." This growing distrust came to a head after Traoré's administration launched audits into EU-funded programs and discovered vast inefficiencies, misuse of aid, and hidden surveillance efforts. In a nationally televised address, Traoré made the bold proclamation: Burkina Faso is a sovereign nation. We will no longer tolerate foreign missions that undermine our independence. As of this day, all EU embassies are ordered to cease operations and exit the territory within 72 hours. Crowds across Ouagadougou and Bobo Dioulasso erupted in celebration. National pride soared. European officials were stunned. Diplomats scrambled to evacuate. The French ambassador was among the first to leave, escorted by military officials to the airport. The EU released a short, cold statement. "We regret Burkina Faso's decision and urge the leadership to reconsider." But Traoré didn't flinch. Burkinabe citizens overwhelmingly backed the move. On social media, hashtags like #ByeByeEurope, #AfricaFirst, and #Traoré trended for days. Youth organizations, farmers' unions, and local entrepreneurs publicly voiced support, stating that foreign embassies had long hindered true progress. The broader African continent watched with admiration. Mali and Niger issued statements of solidarity. AES leaders hinted that a joint withdrawal of EU embassies across member states might soon follow. In Ghana, Nigeria, and Senegal, grassroots movements began petitioning their governments to review their own diplomatic dependencies. Traoré's boldness was contagious. Western media outlets painted a dire picture. Traoré plunges Burkina Faso into isolation, read one BBC headline. Dictator pushes West Africa into Russian hands, claimed France 24. But African commentators rejected the spin. On African Today, on local Burkinabe radio stations, on Pan-African YouTube channels, a different narrative emerged. This is not isolation. This is liberation. Burkina Faso, under Traoré, was choosing its own path. Shutting out Europe doesn't mean shutting the world. In fact, Burkina Faso is opening new doors. Traoré has strengthened ties with Russia for military training and arms procurement, Turkey for infrastructure development and agriculture, China for technology and energy projects, African neighbors for shared economic zones and security initiatives. A new embassy district is being planned to house diplomats from Latin America, Asia, and Pan-African states. The message is clear: Burkina Faso is not closing. It's choosing partners that respect its sovereignty. What about aid? What about trade? Traoré's administration had long anticipated Western economic retaliation. In preparation, the government has nationalized several gold mining sites, keeping profits within national borders, launched agricultural self-sufficiency campaigns, especially in staple crops like maize, sorghum, and millet, created community investment funds to replace foreign NGO services. Rather than depending on European aid, Burkina Faso is embracing a build with what we have philosophy. The private sector, particularly in tech and agribusiness, has started to thrive in this climate of nationalist empowerment. Security has always been the West's excuse for intervention, but Burkina Faso is now rewriting that logic. Thousands of civilians have joined local defense forces known as the VDP, Volunteers for the Defense of the Homeland. These units are trained in coordination with neighboring AES forces and, reportedly, with Russian instructors. Since the EU exit, the number of coordinated terrorist attacks has dropped, thanks to more community-based intelligence and rapid response. The nation has proven it can defend itself without European boots on its soil. Beyond diplomacy, something deeper is happening: a national awakening. Traoré has reignited Burkinabe pride in language, culture, and heritage. French is no longer prioritized in schools. Local languages like Moor and Dioula are now officially recognized in state functions. Civic education now includes the teachings of Thomas Sankara and other African liberation leaders. It's not just about policy, it's about dignity. Captain Traoré's decision may be historic for Burkina Faso, but its impact could redefine African politics. If other nations follow, Europe may find itself increasingly sidelined on a continent it once ruled. For Africa, the implications are profound. True continental integration free from European intermediaries. Unified military defense under African leadership. Economic ecosystems based on mutual benefit, not exploitation. Burkina Faso is the first domino, and it has already tipped. This isn't just about embassies. This is about freedom. Captain Ibrahim Traoré has drawn a bold line between the Africa of the past and the Africa that must now rise. One where dignity, sovereignty, and unity are non-negotiable. Europe is watching. The world is watching. But more importantly, Africa is awakening. Here on African Today, we will keep telling these stories. Not the stories they want you to hear, but the ones that empower you to think, act, and build. If you believe in Africa's right to be free and sovereign, share this story. Let the world know Burkina Faso has spoken, and it will not be silenced.